Hello knitters, it's Linda Scocker here. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to cast on using the magic loop method. It's something that I recommend all the time for my projects, so I would like to show you how to do it. Now, the magic loop method is where you're using a long circular needle to knit in the round for a small circumference. So a long circular needle to knit a small circumference. Obviously you don't have enough stitches to fit around your cable, and it may seem counterintuitive, but it is easier to use a longer cable than a shorter one to do this method. So I'm using, I think this is an 80 centimeter cable. That would be about the minimum, 80 to 100. If you use anything smaller, 60 for this kind of number of stitches might be okay, but generally I like to go for a little bit longer. Okay, so that will become, the reason for that will become apparent as we go along. Now I have 32 stitches cast on already. I used the German twisted cast on, and you can see a video for that on my channel. It's for a mitten. Okay, so it is a small circumference, and we would even be able to do the thumb if we wanted to with this method, or the thumb and fingers of gloves, or tiny circumferences. Once you know how, you can knit any circumference with the magic loop. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is drag all of the stitches onto the cable. I'm using Chiaogu needles today. They've got a metal core and a plastic coating, so that works really well for magic loop. The Knit Pro plastic cord is fine as well. Just be careful when you're folding it, which I'll show you in a sec. Not to kink it, because once it's kinked, it's really hard to get the kinks out of the cables. And yeah, not as fun to use anymore after that. So right, let's get going. We've got 32 stitches. I'm going to count half of them, so I want 16 on each side. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I'll just check 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I've got the right number. I'm going to fold them in half. That's where my thumb is, the halfway point there. And I'm just going to gently pull those stitches down on either side. This is the part where I said don't push that too hard to make a fold here, that you'll ruin your cable. Okay, so I want to pull all of those stitches onto both needle tips. So push them onto the needle tips, and you'll see in my example, because I did a German twisted cast on, both my tail and my working yarn are on the same side. That's not always the case. So depending on the type of cast on you do, sometimes the tail can be on the other side. The most important thing here is that the working yarn, don't worry about the tail, it can be anywhere, but the working yarn needs to be at the top or the back. Okay, so if you found yourself in this position, then just flip the needles so that it's at the top. All right, now the next thing is to line up all of these edge stitches so they're facing each other. So if you open it out, you can see it's a straight line. There's no twist here. That's important. You don't want to Mobius, accidentally create a Mobius infinity loop. They're all facing each other. I call it my crocodile. So they look like crocodile teeth, just to give you a nice visual. That's how you want to begin. Okay, all of the teeth, stitches, needles, whatever, are facing each other. Okay, now this working yarn, don't worry about the tail, but the working yarn needs to be draped over that back needle. Okay, so from front to back, take it over and out of the way. Then hold these both closely together with your left hand. So both of them are being held in the left hand. Use your index finger just to hold that working yarn at the back, And then with your right hand, you're going to pull out that needle. The one where the working yarn is attached gets pulled out. Okay, just pull it out long enough so that it reaches the front. So we're not going all the way. There's my loop on the other side. If I'd pull that further, it will go all the way. We don't want that. We just want enough rope, I say, enough cord so that the needle tip meets the front of the work. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold everything. So all my fingers are in play here. They're holding the loose stitches that are on the cable now. They're holding that front needle. There's my index finger and my thumb holding that front needle. I'm going to insert this loose needle that we just pulled out into that stitch. Then pick up your yarn and knit it. Okay, so we're knitting that first stitch. And in doing so, we've now joined in the round. That is now a circle. Okay, so that's your first stitch. Now we're going to purl straight away. So, because we're making ribbing. And now knitting again. It's a 1 by 1 rib. It's the cuff of a mitten. Now, don't pull the first stitch too tightly because otherwise you'll pinch all of the yarn that you need for that stitch. Don't worry about this little gap. Oh, bad camera. Don't worry about this string here. That will sort itself out later. It belongs to that stitch that's on the cable. Okay, so where are we? We're going to purl. We're going to go all the way across these stitches on the needle. Not doing a terrific job of English knitting, but you get the drift. We're going to go across all of these stitches. So this is just like normal flat knitting. Nothing to see here. You've got your 2 loops on either side. That's why it's called magic loop, I believe. Go all the way to the end of... Now these stitches, these 16 stitches are half of your circumference. Okay. Do that. Now coming to the last stitch, purling it. Now, this needle, you let it go. Okay, that's the first thing. Let it go, and then flip all the work so that the needle is pointing from left to right again, and then push this needle back in these stitches. Okay, so if you've over tightened that first stitch, that would be really difficult to do. It's still a little tricky. It gets easier as you go along. The cast on edge is always a little bit tighter, I guess. So now both sides on the 2 needle tips. This side has been knitted, but this one hasn't yet. Okay, so if you find yourself after all that maneuvering that your working yarn is at the front, I need you to flip it so that it's at the back again. Okay, that's really important. It's on the back needle. And then we're going to drape. First step is to drape the working yarn over the needle. Hold everything with your left hand and put your index finger on that so that it stays put. Then grab with your right hand, that back needle, the one where the working yarn is attached, and pull it out just enough so that it can reach the front. Okay, we ended on a purl stitch, so this is going to be a knit stitch for our ribbing. I'm doing English knitting now, but I will switch to Continental in a bit to show you how I do that. But in the meantime, English knitters, we're going to just 1 by 1 rib all of these stitches. If you find it easier for the very first time you're doing it to just knit the first row and then do your ribbing after, it just creates quite a cute little edge. So that's fine. If you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to knit, purl, knit. That cable wants to come forward. Don't worry, just ignore it. You're not going to put a twist in the work now that it's joined. So just let it do what it wants to do. And then knit and purl. And that's the last stitch. So again, we're going to let it go. Flip the work. Push the needle back in. I try and do everything in the same order each time so that I get into some sort of a rhythm. The tail's out, get the tail out of the way. Now, when the tail is here back at the front of the work, that's how we know we've done one complete round. If the tail is over here, then we know we've only done half of a round. Okay, so you don't need a stitch marker. If you use a stitch marker with magic loop, it just falls off unless you put it somewhere, you have the start of the round in the middle, which I do sometimes for sleeves. But anyway, so that is your beginning of round, and that is where how you know you've gone around one whole time. All right, so let's just go through the method again. Both needles are pointing from left to right. Everything's being held with our left hand. We drape the working yarn, which the needle for the working yarn is at the back. That gets draped over, and we'll hold it with our left hand. Pull that needle out and knit into the front. Okay. So I might just switch to Continental. Oops, my yarn got snagged. I'll switch to Continental. If you haven't come across Continental before, it's where you hold the yarn in your left hand and you pick stitches instead of throwing the yarn. Okay, getting all the way to the end, drop, flip, push the needle back in. Now both needles are pointing from left to right. The needle at the back is the one that is holding the working yarn. It gets draped over, held on by our left hand, while our right hand pulls the needle out and then knits into the first stitch on the stationary needle. And we go again. Or Continental. I'll just show you with Continental how I hold on to, I don't drop necessarily. I'll just show you what I mean. I'm going to go all the way to the end of the half, knit, purl, knit, last stitch, purl. Now I drop and I hold my work, keeping on holding that, and then push this needle back in, drape it over, pull it out, keep knitting. One of the most frustrating things that people find about magic loop is that having to manipulate the needles every round. And some people think that with double pointed needles, you just keep going around and around and around. And perhaps that's valid. But I think you're getting to such a rhythm that it doesn't matter. I don't mind it at all. I like that I can use the same needles through my whole project and I don't have to switch. Two different set of needles. So I can do a hat, a beanie from beginning to end with magic loop, and it doesn't bother me. Same with socks. Once you know how to do the magic loop, you can do socks, sleeves, the whole thing. It's great. And then once you get going, now you don't have to have half of the stitches on each side. It makes it easier, I think, to have them even. But if at some stage you're increasing on one side and not the other or whatever, you don't have to maintain exactly half on each side. It's fine. And there we go. That's pretty much it. Thanks.